Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. And you know, when you're in the middle of the day, you're kind of like, okay, how much longer is it going to be? You know, a little bit of that nervousness stuff going on. Hey, let me ask you all, have any of you all been in a situation where it just seemed bigger than you were? Any hands out there? You were just petrified. Do you know when you get into a situation that you consider scary, you can freeze up. You can just become immobilized by the fear. Now, I happen to be someone who knows a little bit about something about fear because it just runs in my family. I think I inherited it. My mother had lots of phobias and stuff. She was afraid of water and all kinds of different things. Well, I inherited this phobia, I guess, of bridges. So I've been in some really difficult situations. So I know about fear. I know about anxiety. I know about panic. So I'm going to tell you one of my funny stories, okay? So just get a little vulnerable here. One time I was traveling. I was in the middle of Fort Worth. It was my first time to drive to Fort Worth. I did not realize how big it was. It is really, really big. And see, for me, a bridge doesn't have to be over water. It just has to be high. And so in Fort Worth, you get on these highways, and I mean, like one highway goes over another and another over another. And I mean, it is like super high. It looks like a roller coaster. So it's nighttime, and I get to this situation. I'm in the middle of downtown, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And this feeling just overtook me. And I thought, if I get on one of those, I will die. And I couldn't do anything. I became paralyzed. I pulled over to the side of the road and thought, what am I going to do? I got to get to my hotel. It's on the other side of the city, and I cannot drive another inch. What am I going to do? So I called the police. You know, they're supposed to be your friend, okay? I called the police, and I said, okay, look, this is the situation I'm in. Can you please send someone out here to help me? So I'm thinking they're going to send somebody in a police car, right? No, they sent two guys on bicycles. And I'm like, that can't help me. I need someone to escort me to my hotel. So anyway, so we talked about the situation, and they're like, okay, we will tell you how you can get there without getting on the interstate. I'm like, okay, I can do this thing. So I started driving now, going, city streets. Well, then my imagination starts playing tricks with me, and I start thinking, what if I make the wrong turn? And I accidentally end up on one of those. Well, again, the paralyzing fear overtook me again, and I found myself in a parking lot. And I called the police again. And I said, okay, look, I need you to send a police officer here in a car. And they're like, no, we don't have escort service anymore. I'm like, okay, well then I'm going to spend the night in this parking lot in my car because I am not driving another inch until somebody comes to get me. So they sent some police officers there. They escorted me to my hotel, and I survived that episode. But anyway, so needless to say, I know a little something about fear. So, what I want to tell you is that fear is a physical thing, and it affects you very deeply. I mean, what are some of the feelings that we get? I mean, we got heart palpitations, you can sweat, you can start shaking, you can get nauseous, all kinds of terrible things happen, knots in your stomach and all of this kind of stuff. Well, this Christmas I was watching this movie, and it was like a children's animated movie. I don't have children, but I still like those kinds of movies. And so I was watching this movie, and there was this little mountain goat who had a fear of heights. And so this other little character, and I don't know what he was, I think he was a dog, okay? So he was going to teach him not to be afraid of heights anymore. And what he told him was, the feeling from fear is the same as excitement. You get that little feeling in the pit of your stomach, it's the same feeling as excitement. I never even thought about that. But I like that. Because whenever you feel afraid, you can tell yourself, I am getting ready for a new adventure. This is going to be exciting. Probably easier said than done, but I'm going to challenge you on that. Now, I can tell you that I had a time in my life when I almost let fear cheat me out of a great opportunity. And so I'm going to tell you that story real quick, and maybe you can find some encouragement from it. So it's at the beginning of my career journey, and I had recently moved to Monroe. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. And so in Nashville, Nashville's a big media market. I remember growing up, Oprah Winfrey was the 6 o'clock anchor. So that's the caliber of talent that we had in Nashville. And then I came to Monroe, and nothing against Monroe, but we are a starter market. So we have kids straight out of college that now they're on the air telling the news stories at night, and sometimes it's not so good, but anyway. So I was watching that, and I thought, you know what, I think I could do that. I mean, I just really think I could do that right now, even without having studied journalism or anything. So one day I was reading the paper and saw an ad for a news reporter at one of the TV stations. So I called him up and told him, you know, I've never really done this before, but would you consider me? I've done public speaking, I've done blah, 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 acting and all that kind of stuff. So they're like, well, you're local, we'll give you an audition. So just come to the station tomorrow. We are going to send you out with one of the reporters, and you're going to go out, do your interviews, and gather your story right along with them. And I'm like, oh, okay. And sure. So that night I started thinking about it. I'm like, what on earth? What have I got myself into? And I was like, I mean, I've seen it on TV, but I don't know how to write a news story. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to make a fool of myself. And the more I thought about it, the scareder I got. I got so scared, I was sick at my stomach and literally felt like I was going to throw up. And I was just like, I'm not going to do this. Tomorrow I'm going to call him and just say I've changed my mind. I'm not going to do it. And so I had pretty much gone to bed thinking that's what I was going to do. But the more I thought about it, I realized if I don't do it, I'll never know if I could. And I was just like, I've got to do it. I mean, what is the worst thing that can happen to me? The worst thing that can happen to me is I can make a total fool of myself with people that I don't know. And I could fail. But if I succeed, it could be the beginning of something really exciting. So I decided to do it. And it turns out that I didn't get that particular job. However, they said, you have potential. And they referred me to an independent production company in town and said, if you can work for them for a while doing news, then come back to us, we'll hire you in a year. And that's exactly what happened. I worked for them a year, and then I ended up going to the network station and working as a reporter, which that was the beginning of a new challenge because I was willing to walk through that door. And you know what? It wasn't the last, because it seems like everything in my life has been this new exciting adventure that I was unprepared for, that I had nothing to go on. And I had to step out in faith and try something new, try something scary, try something that I could majorly fail at. But I did it. And, you know, God has led me into one exciting thing after another. The next exciting journey for me was deciding, I think I'm going to do my own television show. And I did. You know, I produced a Christian music video show, and it aired for several years here in Monroe. And then after that, I decided that I wanted to get into film. I got my first thing that I did in film was as an extra in the film Glory Road. And then I formed my own casting company, and that led to me becoming a producer. And I, you know, actually won awards for the film that I produced. And then I created a podcast, won awards for that. So it's just, you know, a journey, but everything that I did was totally new for me, and it was very scary, but I did it. Amen. And so, thank you. So I just want to challenge you that, you know, not to be afraid of those kinds of things. And I'm just going to close with one quick little story of a young lady that I met earlier this year at a networking event. And she was a communications major in college, and she told me, I really wanted, when she found out what I did, I would love to work for a marketing company. And I said, well, I'm actually looking for interns. So I talked to her about it, and she was like, yeah, I would love that. So I sent her an email with her first job assignment. She didn't answer. I sent her a text. It took the third text, and finally she texted me back, and she said, I didn't respond to you because I didn't exactly understand the instructions, and I was scared I would fail, and I didn't want to disappoint you, so I just didn't answer. So I said, can I call you? So we talked a little bit on the phone, and I told her, it's like, look, it's an opportunity to do something, and I'm not going to be hard on you. I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to help you. And so she agreed, yes, I really want to do this. So I gave her another assignment, just a little bit easier. And then the next day she responded to me and said, I've decided I don't have time for this right now. Now that may have been true. Maybe she rethought it, but there's a good chance after her confiding in me of how she was afraid for people to read her writing, afraid of failure, there's a good chance she was afraid to step through that door. And I think to myself, it's like, what could have this led to for you? Not that working for me is so special, but moving towards your dream is special. And so, I don't want any of you all to be standing at a door and to be petrified with fear, afraid to step through, because you could be missing out on something really special. You could be missing out on your purpose and the calling of your life. So I just beg of you not to let that happen to you. I've got 2 scriptures I'm going to read to you. One, I don't know whose glasses I just put on. Okay, well, I hope they look good. Okay. Okay, 1 Timothy 1:7. Okay. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. And the other one, Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. Do not be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. So I encourage you women to be brave because you know you have the Spirit of God living in you. You can do this thing. Don't be afraid to walk through that door because you'll never know if you don't try.